Hello, thank you for joining me today as I share with you the story of People Data Labs and the Oxydata leak of 2019, who was actually first found by a famous cybersecurity investigator named Vinny Choya. He has a PhD and has actually been who has found other large-scale breaches and data leaks. This particular one compromised 1.2 billion records and including 662 million unique addresses and 50 million unique phone numbers that all form part of more thorough profiles that were just sitting in an unsecured server with information from different platforms like the most popular social media platforms. And to understand the story, we have to understand the different organizations involved because the fault does not lie in this case in one single company, but there's strong evidence that suggests that the data originated from the firms Oxydata and People Data Labs because some of the records contained an acronym OXY, and the records directly and accurately match the profiles that are sold by the data enrichment firm, People Data Labs. However, they both deny faults and have no accountability for this incident. Since they sell the data, they're suggesting that the breach could have occurred onto one of their clients' servers, not their own. And there's no way to trace back to any specific entity because the IP address led them to Google Cloud Services and not another company. And it's theorized that another scenario could have been that burner accounts were created on Oxydata and People Data Labs websites where they had access to trial sample sizes, and so creating thousands of burner accounts would have eventually allowed them to get most of the databases from both data enrichment firms. What could have been different, because this situation is very particular, I would suggest that to prevent this, Oxydata and People Data Labs could have both had stricter free trial surveillances where they either get rid of the free trial completely or have a system in place to detect when there were being burner accounts created. Also, more training for their clients would have been helpful by placing a strong emphasis on the security of the data and the responsibility that comes with buying their services, as well as stricter qualifications to do business with them, and making sure that whoever they were licensing their databases to had a better cybersecurity framework in place, and they would be able to protect it just as well as they can. Unfortunately, there is a potential for this to happen again due to the growing data collections of companies overall. With the growth of IoT and AI, where there's more incentives for companies to collect even more data from consumers. And unfortunately, the regulation at the federal level moves way too slow for it to catch up with the way technology is changing and evolving. This does leave a lot of gray area, especially when you consider that consumers usually don't know to what degree their data is being used or sold. And even those that are aware are growing a pessimistic outlook on breaches and hacks and taking any preventative measure towards their own privacy. However, Oxydata and People Data Labs could enact some practices to try and prevent this from happening again by creating company certification for clients to pass before they're even able to do business with them. And the certification would basically ensure that their clients are ready to take on the responsibility and that they're ready to take on the database of the profiles of people so that it doesn't end up again on the dark web. Second, they could remove the free trial option completely. This would remove that risk of being exploited. And then finally, the right thing morally would be to investigate, and if it is one of their clients that was targeted, they could either stop doing business with them or help them, wait for them to strengthen their security capabilities so that they're better able to take care of the data they're purchasing from Oxydata and People Data Labs. Of course, throughout the research, I've directly tied the information I was reading and learning about to the course, mainly on cyber law and cyber framework. I couldn't help but think how things would have been different or how companies would have reacted if we had an act similar to the general data protection of the European Union. If anything, consumers would be more informed as to what is happening with their own data. And then the cyber framework, I believe, should it have been one of the clients that was broken into, even though we don't know who it is. We can assume that their cybersecurity measures are not the best or the strongest, just due to the ease of which they were able to hack in and collect all this information. And with that, I conclude this presentation. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed learning about this peculiar case.